Hidden deep in the shadows of the charts are bands that wrote killer riffs, iconic lyrics, and timeless songs, only to vanish into obscurity. Today, we're uncovering 30 rock bands from the 60s, 70s, and 80s that every music fan should hear. Some came close to stardom, others barely got a shot, but all of them were criminally underrated. And we're starting right where rock exploded, the 1960s. Number 30, the Monks. Before punk was even a whisper, 5 American GIs stationed in Germany shaved their heads, donned robes, and unleashed raw, aggressive garage rock. The Monks were wild, abrasive, and way ahead of their time. Their 1966 album, Black Monk Time, was chaotic, loud, and totally unlike anything else. Blending social commentary with pounding drums and distorted banjo. They never found commercial success, but their influence rippled through punk and experimental scenes for decades. Number 29, the United States of America. Psychedelia meets early electronics. This experimental rock band, led by UCLA music professor Joseph Bird, created one of the most innovative albums of the 60s, with no guitars. Their 1968 self-titled album used tape loops, early synthesizers, and distorted violins to craft eerie, futuristic soundscapes. Fronted by Dorothy Moskowitz's haunting vocals. Though they only released one record, it's since become a cult favorite among crate diggers and psych rock purists. Number 28, The Pretty Things. They were dirtier than the Stones and bolder than the Beatles, but never got the same glory. The Pretty Things started with raw R&B energy, but evolved into pioneers of psychedelic and concept rock. Their 1968 album, SF Sorrow, is widely considered the first true rock opera, predating Tommy by The Who. It was theatrical, experimental, and emotionally deep. But poor promotion and lack of US distribution meant they stayed in the shadows. Number 27, 13th Floor Elevators. This Texas-based band didn't just play psychedelic rock, they helped define it. Fronted by the magnetic and troubled Roky Erickson, the 13th Floor Elevators fuse garage rock grit with swirling, mind-expanding sounds. Their 1966 debut, The Psychedelic Sounds of the 13th Floor Elevators, is often cited as the first album to use the term psychedelic in its title. But between drug arrests and Erickson's battles with mental illness, the band's rise was cut short. Today, they're underground legends. Number 26, The Seeds. Raw, hypnotic, and stripped down. The Seeds were garage rock trailblazers. Their 1966 hit Pushin' Too Hard captured teen angst with a repetitive, almost proto-punk edge that felt way ahead of its time. Led by the eccentric Sky Saxon, their music walked the line between psychedelic freakout and primal rock. They were beloved in the Los Angeles scene, but never broke through nationally. Still, their influence lives on in punk and garage revival bands to this day. We've just scratched the surface of the 60s. How many of these bands have you actually heard before? And if any of them surprised you, tell me which one and why. I read every reply. All right, let's keep digging through the decade. Number 25, Love. Los Angeles, best kept secret. Led by the enigmatic Arthur Lee, Love fused garage rock, folk, and Baroque psychedelia into something haunting and beautiful. Their 1967 album, Forever Changes, is now considered one of the greatest records of the era. Lush, melancholic, and poetic. But internal conflict and Lee's refusal to tour kept them from the spotlight. While their contemporaries filled stadiums, Love faded quietly into cult legend. Number 24, the Nazz. Before Todd Rundgren became a solo icon, he was the guitarist and songwriter behind the Nazz. They mixed British invasion swagger with American garage grit, and their 1968 debut showcased Rundgren's early genius. Their original version of Hello, It's Me, later a solo hit, was more raw and heartfelt, capturing a vulnerability that stood out from the era's bravado. The band never quite broke through, but their fingerprints are all over 60s and 70s power pop and proto-glam. Number 23, Clear Light. A short-lived psychedelic outfit from Los Angeles with serious underground mystique. Clear Light featured not one but two drummers and had ties to the Doors through their shared management.
Arranged on colored patchwork playground.
Their self-titled 1967 album is a swirling mix of heavy psych, spoken word, and eerie instrumentation. Though they only released one record, its dark, trippy atmosphere left a lasting impression on the late 60s West Coast scene. Number 22, The Creation. If you crossed mod rock with proto-punk, you'd get The Creation. These British rockers brought fuzzed-out riffs, wild stage antics, and art school flair to the mid-60s, years before it was cool. Guitarist Eddie Phillips pioneered the use of a violin bow on his guitar, years before Jimmy Page made the technique iconic. Tracks like Making Time and Painter Man are cult classics.
Always singing the same old song, same old song. Painter Man, who will be a painter man?
But they never caught fire in the US, a true case of being too ahead of their time. Number 21, The Action. Polished, soulful, and criminally overlooked. The Action were part of the British mod scene, blending R&B grooves with sharp harmonies and stylish swagger. Produced by George Martin, yes, that George Martin, they had the Beatles' backing, but never their breakthrough. Their 1968 recordings, later compiled as Rolled Gold, showcase a band transitioning into psych pop brilliance, just as the curtain was closing. That wraps up our deep dive into the 1960s. 10 bands that shaped the sound, but slipped through the cracks. Which one stood out most to you? Or do you have a personal favorite from the 60s that should have made this list? Let's light up the comments with hidden gems, and get ready because the 70s are where things get wild. Number 20, Big Star. They had the melodies of the Beatles, the raw emotion of early indie rock, and the kind of songwriting that artists would obsess over for decades. Big Star's albums, especially number one record and Radio City, flopped commercially in the 70s, but became cult essentials later. Influencing R.E.M., The Replacements, and even modern bands like Wilco. Their mix of power pop and melancholy made them the heartbreak kings of the underground. Number 19, Bebop Deluxe. Art rock meets glam with a sci-fi twist. Led by the brilliant Bill Nelson, Bebop Deluxe fused Bowie-esque theatricality with prog-level musicianship.
Like a cloud without a sky, like a truth with no...
Albums like Sunburst Finish featured soaring guitars, lush arrangements, and poetic lyrics about space, love, and isolation. They never cracked the mainstream, but their influence seeped into everything from new wave to shoegaze, a band made for deep listening. Number 18, Gentle Giant. One of prog rock's best-kept secrets, Gentle Giant were masters of complexity, fusing classical, medieval, and jazz influences into sprawling, intricate compositions. Albums like Octopus and In a Glass House were packed with odd time signatures, layered harmonies, and dizzying musicianship. They weren't made for radio, but for those who crave depth and musicianship, Gentle Giant is a goldmine. Number 17, Van der Graaf Generator. Dark, dramatic, and intellectually intense, Van der Graaf Generator weren't your typical prog rock band. Led by Peter Hamel's theatrical vocals and existential lyrics, their sound was more menacing than mystical. Albums like Pawn Hearts pushed boundaries with extended compositions, dissonant saxophone, and apocalyptic themes. They found a cult following in Europe, but remained far too unconventional for mainstream airplay.
One more haggard drown man!
Number 16, Gnidrolog. You've probably never heard the name, but Gnidrolog were one of the most experimental bands in early British prog. With flute, cello, and wild vocal shifts, they carved out a niche even stranger than their peers. Their 1972 album, Lady Lake, is a hidden gem, melancholic, complex, and filled with unexpected turns. They didn't last long, but their music still echoes in the corners of the prog underground. All right, rock fans, how many of these bands were completely new to you? Let me know in the comments. 1, 3, all 5? And if you're a diehard fan of any of them, I want to hear your favorite album or hidden track. We've got 5 more deep cuts from the 70s coming up. Let's keep it rolling. Number 15, Trapeze. Before Glenn Hughes joined Deep Purple, he fronted this hard-rocking power trio from the Midlands. Trapeze blended funk, soul, and heavy blues into a sound that was years ahead of its time. Their 1970 album Medusa became a cult favorite, with Hughes' soaring vocals and tight musicianship earning them respect from peers, even if the mainstream never caught on. Many fans consider them one of the greatest what could have been stories in British rock. Number 14, the Groundhogs. Psychedelic blues with a gritty edge, the Groundhogs were one of Britain's most underrated power trios. Led by the fiery guitar work of Tony McPhee, they churned out socially conscious, heavy blues rock long before it was fashionable. Albums like Split and Thank Christ for the Bomb were critical darlings in the UK underground. Their influence would quietly seep into hard rock, grunge, and stoner rock scenes decades later. Number 13, Sir Lord Baltimore. These guys were loud. Hailing from Brooklyn, Sir Lord Baltimore cranked out a sludgy proto-metal sound in the early 70s that made even Black Sabbath fans take notice. Their 1971 debut, Kingdom Come, was one of the first albums ever described as heavy metal in print. With thunderous riffs and wild vocals, they were pioneers of what would later become doom and stoner rock, decades before those terms existed. Number 12, Leaf Hound. If you've ever wondered where early stoner rock got its groove, meet Leaf Hound. Their 1971 album, Growers of Mushroom, is a gritty blend of blues, psych, and heavy rock. So rare it once sold for thousands of dollars on vinyl.
I saw the lights of 1,000 stars twinkling beyond the sea.
Frontman Peter French would later join Atomic Rooster and Cactus, but Leaf Hound's lone album remains their crown jewel, raw, riff-heavy, and way ahead of its time.
I ain't got me no one, nowhere to go.
Number 11, Captain Beyond. Formed by ex-members of Deep Purple, Iron Butterfly, and Johnny Winter's band, Captain Beyond were a cosmic blend of hard rock, prog, and psychedelia. Their self-titled 1972 debut is a cult classic, packed with seamless song transitions, time changes, and a spacey, futuristic vibe that feels like a rock opera without the theatrics. Despite their pedigree, they remained in the shadows, but their influence echoes through bands like Mastodon and Opeth today. That wraps up the 70s. 10 bands that pushed rock into wild new territory, but never got the spotlight they deserved. So tell me, did any of these blow your mind, or maybe you've got your own hidden gem from the 70s that the world needs to hear? Drop it in the comments and let's build the ultimate obscure rock playlist together. Now buckle up because the 80s are coming and things are about to get loud. Number 10, Wipers. Before grunge exploded, the Wipers were laying its foundation in the rainy streets of Portland. Fronted by Greg Sage, the band mixed punk aggression with moody guitar work and introspective lyrics that would go on to influence Nirvana and Melvins. Their 1980 debut, Is This Real?, is a raw, melodic masterpiece that never got the recognition it deserved. Sage avoided fame, preferring DIY ethics over industry attention, which only added to the band's underground mystique. Number 9, Flipper. Sludgy, slow, and totally unhinged, Flipper were the anti-punk punk band.
Full of zest, with no appeal, ever.
While everyone else was speeding up, Flipper dragged it out, turning chaos into art with pounding bass lines, noisy distortion, and nihilistic lyrics. Their 1982 debut album, Generic Flipper, baffled critics but inspired future noise rock and grunge acts. Kurt Cobain called them one of his biggest influences, and once you hear them, it's easy to understand why. Number 8, Mission of Burma. Angular, cerebral, and loud as hell, Mission of Burma took punk and made it art. Their blend of post-punk dissonance, tape loops, and shouted hooks made them one of the most forward-thinking bands of the early 80s. Their 1981 EP Signals, Calls, and Marches and 1982 album V's laid the groundwork for indie and alternative rock in the decades that followed. They broke up too soon due to hearing damage from their brutal live volumes, but their legacy only grew louder. Number 7, Agent Orange.
They can't make things worse for me, sometimes I'd rather die.
Surf rock meets skate punk in a flash of Southern California adrenaline. Agent Orange's 1981 debut, Living in Darkness, blended fast-paced punk with reverb-heavy surf guitar, a combo that felt both nostalgic and explosive. Though they never reached mainstream heights, their unique sound became a blueprint for skate culture and underground punk. Songs like Bloodstains are still anthems for misfits and thrill seekers alike.
Things seem so much different now. The scene has died away.
Number 6, Girl.
Don't you like me? Won't you invite me? Take me back to your home.
Imagine glam rock swagger crashing into the raw edge of the new wave of British heavy metal, and you get Girl. Fronted by Phil Lewis, later of LA Guns, and featuring future Def Leppard guitarist Phil Collen, Girl had the looks, the hooks, and the attitude. Albums like Sheer Greed flirted with fame, but were a bit too glam for the metal crowd and too heavy for the pop scene. They were caught between eras, but left behind some seriously underrated rock and roll. How many of these 80s deep cuts were totally new to you? Tell me in the comments. Did any surprise you? Or maybe you used to skate to Agent Orange or blast Mission of Burma on vinyl. I want to hear your stories. Let's finish strong. 5 more hidden rock classics to go. Number 5, Killdozer.
1 week exactly for those of you.
Dirty, sludgy, and sarcastic, Killdozer were noise rock pioneers who mixed heavy riffs with biting social commentary. Their slow, grinding sound was a middle finger to polished 80s production. Hailing from Wisconsin, they influenced bands like Nirvana and the Melvins with their abrasive style and dark humor. Albums like 12 Point Buck were never mainstream, but they carved out a cult following that still worships their weirdness. Number 4, Holy Moses. Before female-fronted metal was even a conversation, Holy Moses was making noise, loud, aggressive, and unapologetic. Fronted by the fierce Sabina Klassen, they helped shape the German thrash metal scene in the early 80s. Their 1986 album, Queen of Siam, delivered razor-sharp riffs and guttural vocals that stunned audiences at the time. They never broke big internationally, but Sabina became an underground icon, paving the way for women in extreme metal. Number 3, Vardis. Boogie rock with a metal edge. Vardis brought high-energy, barefooted chaos to the new wave of British heavy metal. Mixing glam, blues, and speed, they stood out from their leather and spikes peers. Their 1980 live album 100 mph was exactly that: fast, loud, and electric. While they never reached the fame of Iron Maiden or Saxon, their wild stage shows and fearless fusion earned them a loyal cult following. Number 2, Sacrilege. Before genre blending was the norm, Sacrilege were doing it raw and real. Starting as a crust punk band, they evolved into a heavy, doom-laced thrash act with politically charged lyrics and apocalyptic riffs. Their 1987 album, Within the Prophecy, was dark, intense, and criminally overlooked, bridging the gap between punk's urgency and metal's weight. Today, they're hailed as ahead of their time, influencing everything from death metal to hardcore. Number 1, Anvil. They had the chops, the albums, and the influence, but somehow fame slipped through their fingers. Anvil's early 80s records like Metal on Metal and Forged in Fire laid the groundwork for thrash and speed metal. Everyone from Metallica to Slayer sang their praises, but bad luck and industry setbacks kept them underground. until their 2008 documentary finally gave them the recognition they deserved. They're the definition of perseverance and proof that true legends never really fade. And that's it. 30 bands across 3 decades, each one a hidden thread in the fabric of rock history. How many of these did you know? Were you shocked by how many legends got left behind? Drop your favorites in the comments and let me know which decade surprised you most. If you love this dive into forgotten rock, you'll want to check out my other video, 15 underrated 80s rock bands you forgot existed. We go even deeper into the era of big hair, bigger riffs, and bands that deserved way more love. Click it now and I'll meet you there. And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a chance to rediscover rock's best-kept secrets.